Hey, what's up, football fan? What's up, Mo football fans? We have another episode of Mo Football where we talk soccer from grassroots all the way to the pros and all in between. And today I have a very special show with Jose from Goals TV. And he's not just a soccer fan, not a former soccer fan, but also an IT innovator. He has the whole platform Goals TV where my friends and I get to discuss soccer, have hot takes or not so hot takes. But he's the man between those that we'll say green soccer ball at this time. So, Jose, my friend, how are you doing? How is Texas treating you?
Man, Musa, first off, man, thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm excited about the content we're going to do today. I think some good stories for you guys. But no, man, things are good. You're asking me at 24 hours after I feel like Dallas got robbed against the LA Galaxy, but we'll talk about it. We have a history with this referee.
Well, who doesn't have a history with referees?
Yeah, man. So, man, life is good. Dallas makes it to the playoffs. FC Dallas, it will be even better. And yeah, man, I'm excited for today.
All right. So let's go ahead and start to bring it way back of pre-MLS, pre-Goals TV. Who is Jose and how did you first come about soccer/football?
Yeah, man. I consider myself to be very fortunate, Musa. I don't know, bro. I feel like on this side of the world where very few fans are introduced by someone or brought into this game by someone they really know. It's 9 times out of 10. It's usually what it is because you're probably not seeing it on TV. That wasn't the case for me. My parents and my family were football fans. It's a weird thing to hear, I still think, in this day and age in America, where, like I said, most people grew up as traditional sports fans, and one of their friends later in life got them into it because the sport's growing, right, on this part of the world. But yeah, man, my family, diehard Barcelona fans. You guys can probably see my shirt. Puyol, that's the man himself. Top 2, top 3 defender for me in history. But yeah, bro. I also came through in a very fortunate era. My grandparents loved Barcelona. My parents loved Barcelona. My dad specifically, and there was no means for us to watch it here in the States. So we would watch games, bootleg DVDs that we get in Traders Village here in Dallas. You find the scrappiest ways possible to watch European football because it just wasn't a thing here. And even when it was first introduced, it wasn't La Liga, right? It was the Premier League, and it was almost specifically Manchester United and Arsenal. Probably the only games that we really saw consistently. So, yeah, man, I was fortunate enough to be introduced by my family. But what's really cool about my family in general is that we all are diehard Barca fans. Outside of that, though, everyone has their own respective team. If you follow Premier League, you have your own team. If you follow any league really outside of La Liga, MLS team, although MLS is a whole different story. We'll talk about it. Any other league, like my family doesn't hold any grudges. Like you guys can like whoever you want to like. It'll make it that much more fun. But Barca is the one non-negotiable. So that's out of the womb, man. That's how I grew up.
I like that part. The Barca non-negotiable. That's one way to keep a family close and the family reunion much easier to enjoy.
Yes. Imagine a Real Madrid fan in my family. I don't even know what that would be like. It sounds painful. So, yeah, again, it's the one non-negotiable. My dad really, really imprinted that on me. And even my brothers who don't really follow football, they're not big football fans. They still know that when we watch games, okay, we're watching Barca games, like they're not cheering for anybody else. So that's just always how it's been.
Yeah, and so you mentioned with your family watching Barca. So could you maybe bring us back to a time to when the Barca game happens? Is it like the whole family comes around? Is there a special meal or anything that's like that has to happen when you guys watch Barca play?
At first, no. At first, it was just us being together. There wasn't anything in the everyone was so focused on the match itself that like no one was really worried about what else was happening. But as I got older, and keep in mind, I'm 34 today. So when I think about '04, '05, '06, and me kind of starting to become, a teen, right? A teenager, middle school, early years of high school. It just felt like their culture was being built around that in our house. Like it was really weird for especially in the first half of the season. I feel like more often than not, we would at times even not even watch the games during the afternoon when they come on here in the States. We would wait, record the game, and watch it in the evening, in and around dinner time. Everybody was kind of there already. Grandparents would come over. Um, and yeah, man, it was always just like it felt like we kind of built our own sort of family culture around the game, but we didn't have any sort of set in stone traditions. I'm sure other families do. But yeah, man, it's a great question. We didn't really think about that until I was older, and dude, then I still remember to this day. I'll never forget like Thanksgiving time ish when Ronaldinho got that standing ovation at the Bernabeu, and I remember I at that point I knew football pretty well. I just in my life I had not yet seen someone take the reins in a game and just destroy a rival like that. Just hadn't seen like up to that point, 12, 13 years old, like not that I could remember. So man, yeah, I remember, but again, I remember food in the background, right? I was standing up in the living room, everyone was going crazy. I remember there being drinks around, food around, and everybody just it's a social thing while we're watching football. And at that moment, my dad and I were obviously freaking out.
Absolutely. So your dad, did he had a certain player that from Barca? Because you all have your favorite. So was there one that kind of you watch him watch that player, which kind of helped you then become the fan that you've become?
Yeah, I think so. I actually have, and I've worn it on other shows that I've done other channels, but I have this older. I think he was might have been 90 early 90s kit. I don't want to quote the exact year, but it was my dad's old Rivaldo jersey.
Ooh,
And it was like the burnt orange year when we had the navy V-neck, and it had Barça in cursive in small letters right here in the front next to the crest. That jersey is old as hell, man. It's the print's still good, like it looks really good, like we've taken good care of it. But
yeah,
I rarely wear it because it was just passed down. But I remember him and how he used to watch Rivaldo, and I remember thinking like Rivaldo was cool. I also thought he was kind of slow and like not the most I loved him for my dad, but I kind of wanted to find a player that I could attach myself to. And before Messi ever came into the fold, I think I was telling you this a little bit pre-show, but like everybody I knew, my cousins, everybody, when Dino came, everybody just dropped whoever it was they loved about Barca. It was Dino. Everybody loved Ronaldinho. Like my dad got me Ronaldinho cleats when I was in Chicago for the '06 World Cup because it just he was God. Like he really was. He was legitimately sent to save Barca at the time. Um, so I remember everyone loved Dino, and I don't know, maybe me being just like a little bit of a contrarian and me being a defender at the same time, positionally on the field when I played.
right.
I was like, nah, man, Puyol is him. I mean, Rafa Marquez to me, being Mexican, was also like up there. Like those two together were the best center back pairing in the world for me. Probably not true at the time. There were a lot of great center backs, but they were just like the two cream of the crop. And so like I had literally a Mexican to kind of like almost like pay homage to, right? Because
Yeah.
very few of my people make it that far. But then beyond that, Puyol, man, the guy was just wore his passion on his sleeve. He and I play the exact same way. I'm the loudest one on the field. I'm constantly directing. I'm playing with more passion than anybody. I feel like he was my spirit animal, you know? So yeah, man, in a way, he helped me pick out and help me form my own opinions about who I wanted to follow from Barca.
Yes, absolutely awesome. So, and you mentioned the non-negotiable was Barca, but we know that you also follow another team on the other side of, I guess the pond, we'll call it, in the Premier League. So, could you tell us of who's that team and who was the first player that you're like, that's my guy?
Yeah, man. I think so for those who don't know already, right? I'm not wearing anything about it today, so that's you probably can't tell, but I'm a massive Arsenal fan. I mentioned before, Barca was the non-negotiable, but everybody got to pick their teams. And when I mentioned before, right? If you watch Barca, Dino was him. He was absolutely it for everybody. And I remember when I became a Prem fan in the early 2000s, like right around that time frame, it really was always the race between United and Arsenal.
Yep.
But everybody was a Manchester United fan. Everybody, like everybody loves Sir Alex Ferguson. Everybody thought Beckham and the class 92 was untouchable. Like it was just, it's what everybody wanted to be, the serial champions. But I thought watching Arsenal play, there was two things I noticed. One was that they were primarily non-English players. That to me, when I was a kid, was a big thing, right? Because it's the same thing when I played football or soccer here in the States for teams in Dallas. Like you had your all Hispanic teams, which is where I came from. Like I played on basically all Hispanic teams, but in a massive pool of just basically Caucasian kids. Like that's just how it was because of how pay to play is here. Yeah. All the teams the parents that had money were the ones who could play at the highest level. So like I used that thinking and I was like, you know what? I love this about Arsenal, right? Like I love the fact that they're like primarily at the time from all over Europe. Wenger came and was picking French players everywhere. I love that. It was completely against the English model. And then they started to get good, really good, right? At the time that I started watching, they were basically already the Invincibles. It was like the season before that I started tuning in consistently. And so that obviously winning something like that, I was like, oh my God, I picked the right team. Little did I know, right? United would continue to go on to have the success that they had, but Arsenal still saw trophies along the way, and I'm still very, very proud to be an Arsenal fan. And again, I'm probably the only one in my family who's like that. My dad's a Chelsea fan. You know,
smart guy,
dude. He loves Chelsea. And I'm like, okay, cool. When we watch Chelsea versus Arsenal, it's always fun, always a good time, right? But he picked that for himself. I picked it, Arsenal for myself. And I love that about our family. Like I said, with the Prem or anything else, it's something that it's cool. I did it for me, and I'm the only one who suffers every year when Arsenal finishes second or whatever the case may be. But it's fine. It's my thing, and I love it for that.
Well, other teams don't finish second most of the year, so at least you're still doing better than most of other teams. But
fair point.
Yes. So and now, but also bringing it back to a little bit to Jose. So you've mentioned also that you've had playing time. So could you tell us a little bit more about your path on the player side?
Yeah, man. I love this game, and obviously I played as much as I possibly could. I mentioned a little bit before too around pay to play and just how it works over here. That was always kind of a factor. I'll be honest. Like when I started playing, it was literally just rec ball. It's all my parents knew. When we moved from Chicago to Texas, when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, it was the first thing my dad found. When we played in Chicago, I played like basketball. I played American football. I played other sports, baseball. Even I tried. Never tried football or soccer, mainly because I was just in love with being a fan. Like it's almost like, I don't know. Like I just didn't see how I was going to start playing over here where nobody played, like you would see it every now and then, but you just like when I was a kid, I didn't see it anywhere. I only heard stories from like my grandparents and my parents. So it wasn't super relatable, but when we got to Texas, it was the first thing my dad found was like a soccer league. So cool.
Nice.
Put me in. And it turns out after watching for so long or a decent amount of time at that point, I was pretty good. So like it worked out. I played for, I don't know what, 6, 7, 8 years, just like rec ball, just like I would play as often as I could. Played on multiple teams, same seasons, whatever. Once I got addicted, it was just like all I wanted to keep doing. So I play year round while I'm playing other sports, while I'm still playing, football, running track, playing basketball, doing all of those things. And I would say like, yeah, when we discovered club ball, it wasn't like we were looking for it. I didn't even know pay to play existed. I didn't know it was, the US had this big club model that it was a thing. I had no idea. So my parents, we got approached by a coach at an indoor game. I was playing indoor. We got smoked. It was like 7-2 or something. I scored both of the goals, and I got approached after the game. And it was a significant jump. It was like going from rec ball all the way to like the top 2 divisions of the youth pyramid that exists here in the States. So it was a big jump. I wasn't ready to be an attacker at that level. So when they recruited me, it was like, hey, we're going to bring you in, but you're going to be a defender. Like we need more of your athleticism, more of your speed back there. And you know how to read attackers. So like that should work. Yeah. And they ended up sticking. That's literally how I became a defender. Was I was just probably not ready to be an attacker at that level, make that jump. So they put me in the back line, and it was just like a natural fit. And played a few years. When the development academy became a thing, more than a few of us who were already playing at the top of that league, we kind of just all got together and was like, we're trying to figure out who was going to go where.
Right.
There were 4 academies in Dallas that were allowed to recruit players and be a part of this. So we all tried to figure out where we wanted to go, and I chose FC Dallas mainly because we were a broke Mexican American family, and they were paying the whole way. So travel and whatever it was. So I was like, yeah, done. I don't think about anything else. Like, we're gonna do that. Um, and yeah, man, I was only there about a year and a half because the DA came up when I was already a junior in high school. So
So he kind of passed right by.
yeah, and like even the rule, most people know that development academy for having the rule of not being able to play both high school soccer and club soccer. You
Yes.
had to pick one. That development academies what kicked off that rule to begin with. But because we were so early, man, it was such a loose rule. Like, I played high school ball. I had teammates at FC Dallas who played for their schools. We would play against each other, but it should be like, hey, just don't tell anybody. But just hey, don't tell anybody. But bro, we wanted to play. We wanted to play as much as possible. Like it was, and like of course, you have that dream of winning a state championship for your high school. So all of my teammates, all of my friends who I played against thought that way, and so many of us, man, didn't care. We just like kept playing. But yeah, man, that's how I got into FC Dallas. That's how many of us got recruited. And back then, the pipeline to pro was so, I don't want to say non-existent. It was there. It's just very, very few ever had a realistic shot. I mean, most of us just ended up going to play D1, D2 college soccer, and that's really kind of how it went back then.
You're very kind because I think the path before and now is a galaxy apart.
Yeah, I agree.
Now the opportunities, but I think one good thing I've heard on your whole discussion, especially when you were playing indoor, when you mentioned that even though you got smoked, but just your skills alone, those scouts were able to see that you had the skills for the next level. And I think sometimes what you see down these days is maybe teams that are overstacked with good players because they think that maybe winning is the result of having people, um, you know, having an eye for you. So I think is one of those things that I like to hear from other people that maybe another kid these days will see maybe their team is not the greatest,
Hmm.
but if they put the work in, they were able to showcase. And if they're the right time, right place, the opportunity will be there.
Yeah, you never know, man. I mean, granted, like it was just I was playing against the team who recruited me. It was just
Yeah.
like happenstance. They were playing indoor, during the winter to like stay in shape, right, while their season was on break, and so we just happened to go up against each other. It was kind of happy coincidence, but yeah, I agree. I still think that there are whether it's scouts or just a random coach. Like I think when people who are involved in the game see talent, I like to think most of them know when they see it. I think it's a little bit different nowadays because more people rely on data and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in that. I feel like people who can see talent see it, and like they know what to look for because they've played the game. They know what an elite touch or vision or mechanics, right? Passing, shooting, all of those things looks like, for the most part. Um, and so, the whole like era of football or soccer that we're moving into where it's very data backed. I think it's an interesting time, right, to be a player and to be assessed by certain scouts or coaches. But no matter what, yes, I agree with you. I think that there's still plenty of opportunity, regardless of what team you're on. Right, just go out there, show out, do what you do, be consistent, and you never know who's watching.
Yep. And so for an OG like yourself that kind of went through that process, what would be one thing that you will tell the young and star now in similar path? Um, what would be one advice that you would give them?
I would say stick with it. I think what I see as someone who's working to also try and change how development is approached in this part of the world. Um, I I think it's stick with it probably more than anything else. When I was coming up, and I'm a perfect example of this. I firmly believe I didn't make it to pro like I one day dreamed about because not because I wasn't good enough. I think if I really push came to shove, I could have played at some level professionally, right? Could have been a third division here in the states, whatever. Could have suited up in a professional game. I think I just stuck with it. And I think that when injuries started to take place, when this was during college, but like when injuries started to take place and I got really discouraged, and you see your friends having a great time, the ones who aren't playing sports, they're out there, they're hanging out, they're partying, they're going to classes, they're just being normal. And for someone who spent their entire life, right? Treating school and every social part of that experience as like complementary to football, as like I'm always training, I'm always playing games, I'm always doing whatever. It was my whole life. So I think when there was a little bit of adversity on that front, it was just easier for me to quit. It was easier for me to say, you know what, I'm just not meant to do this. I keep getting injured. That's going to be that. I'll figure my life out. And I think that's a common tale. I think that there's a lot of talented players who just don't have the tools to mentally work around some of those bigger problems, and it ends up being a reason why they just don't play anymore. And that could even be a factor as to why we don't have quite as much talent, right, at the highest level when you really think about it. So yeah, man, I would say if you feel like you're playing at a high level consistently for years on end, and you're still keeping up and you're doing your thing, like just stick with it. Stick with it as long as you can. Outlast everybody who you consider competition. And you never know, man. You never know.
Yeah, those sacrifices that all those athletes make, it's definitely undermined because you do have to skip prom and all of the fun stuff to pursue it when injuries comes.
Yeah, man.
That will kill the spirits very quickly.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. That's what happened to me. I think it was just like I really didn't have the tools to solve that problem, right? Like my parents were always around. If I got injured, like as a young player, club or not, like my dad was going to push me, right, to go through rehab, to like take care of myself, to check all the boxes so that I could come back on the timeline that was originally quoted by the doctor or faster, right? That was always I always had someone to help me pick myself up and just like get right back on the wheel and do what I got to do to get healthy quickly. And when I went away to university, right, when I played D2 ball, best players I've ever played against in my life, um, massive jump playing against men, not boys anymore. It was just way more difficult to try and figure out, okay, like even if I come back, I'll be slower than they are. I'll be slower than I was before. What's the point? You just start doubting yourself in a million ways. And again, without those that like positive reinforcement that my parents gave me, right? Being right there next to me in person, it just became too much. So yeah, man. Hopefully, others can hopefully learn from that.
Yes, and you have then a story of a bounce back that's even different now. We're talking now it was the playing side. So now fast forward a few years, you worked IT and then all behold decided to start Gold's TV. So can you tell us a little bit more about, one, what was the trigger and also um how it first started and the rebrand of Ghost TV?
Yeah, man. No, exciting times. Yeah, I think all of the story that I've kind of laid out for everyone so far, it ultimately led to where I think I was supposed to be at the end of the day. I really do believe that while I love playing, I'm a much bigger and better fan. I think that I care so much about this game because of my fandom that it ultimately pushed me in a different direction to discover what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. And so yeah, man, I ended up deciding that business was where my skills maybe truly lied as a person. And so I've done everything from sales, business development, marketing, you name it. But the idea behind Goals TV, I think I always say it was a mixture of my time at Amazon, working there 7, 8 years, learning how to build products, services, businesses, wrap monetization around those. But it was during that time that I also started taking on side hustles in like the gaming space, which I was also massively passionate about, and that was also brand new. It felt like the Wild West. So being able to work my 9 to 5, where I'm getting just an education on the business side of things, and applying that to what I was passionate about outside of work, which was always football, but gaming was so big and it was so untapped in terms of learning opportunities and then maybe building something around content, right? Because content at that time, just before COVID started, was really starting to take off. And then COVID just added gasoline to the fire. That's pretty much how I always describe it.
Oh yes.
And so I jumped into gaming full time, working full time right before COVID. And once COVID hit, I was all in on content. I wasn't really creating any myself yet, but I was working with several different content creators in the gaming space. And what I had learned from that time in the gaming space was that everybody's a gamer. Like I
Yeah.
think I almost in some form or fashion believe that it's true of everybody. Everybody likes to play games and even go as far as watching others play games. And we saw that with other platforms like Twitch taking off and YouTube adding that and all of that stuff. But putting all that aside, it convinced me that in certain niches, there's going to be a strong opportunity to change how people consume the content, how that content can lead to an entire movement taking off. And it got me really excited about what was possible in the football space because at that time, people did YouTube, right? But it was
Mhm.
always like the same kind of FIFA, content, EAFC now, the same tactical breakdown type of content. You had um, people doing some reaction stuff, right? But like until like 2018, 2019, football content really wasn't much.
Yeah.
AFTV was taking off around that time, but only because Arsenal was unbearable to
It's like half
watch.
decent.
So yeah, so um, all these factors were coming into play right at that time, and I just decided like it'd be so cool if on this side of the world there was a platform that brought people into this game that housed nothing but this game in all of its forms. The content spectrum is massive. You could go in a number of different directions with football content. I feel like there just needed to be one singular dedicated home to it on the internet. And that's what ultimately sparked this idea of Goals TV. Like, could I help build this? Could I help create this with the network that I built up at my time at Amazon and my time in gaming? That I know enough people to help me get it started. And yeah, man, I would say over 2.5 years now, we've built this thing up to where we've got somewhere just over 30,000 different registered accounts on Goals TV.
Nice.
100 plus different content creators who bring content to the platform in some form or fashion. Several different journalists who add written content to the platform as well. It's become decent, right? I mean, with no real marketing pull, with no major influencer work that we've done, it's really just kind of been, hey, can we grow this thing and prove that sports fans think soccer is cool? In
Yeah.
America. That was always what we were trying to do. Um, Talking about how that goes into our rebrand now, it's really interesting because I've only had this conversation maybe a handful of times outside of people who are directly in the Goals TV circle. But I would say that the rebrand came this year. Probably the idea for it early summer,
Yeah.
where we had built up a great platform. Musa, you're on it. You know what the
Mm.
experience is like in terms of adding content to the platform, bringing people on. But after talking to probably at least a couple hundred, few hundred people who use the platform, creators included, what I realized was that I wasn't doing anything new or revolutionary to an extent. I wasn't creating new fans in this game. If anything, I was taking people who were already thought soccer was worthwhile in some form or fashion, whether they're casual or diehard, and making them diehard, bringing them deeper into this game. That's what we were doing at the end of the day. And I think that's fine enough, but it's not this like the stamp I wanted to have or leave on this game. And so I want to be able to say I can create fans as part of something I built, right? Whether it's my
Yep.
content, a cool tech platform, an app, whatever it may be. I want to be able to say that we can create new fans, introduce them to this game, and get them to stick around for the long term. And so that's where myself and now one of a new business partner of mine, Eric Winalda, who has been creating his Unleashed series on Goals TV for
Fire.
the better part of 2025. Thank you,
Yeah.
man. Great, and he shares the same sentiment. This sport can be massive in this country, but the powers at the top of it are preventative on that front. And so we've learned a lot from that show, from my time doing Goals TV, and just realized that we need to start meeting fans earlier in the process, their parents included, as early on as we possibly can. So we've decided, right, to now move in this direction where we're doing just that, building an app that aims to teach parents and players about soccer, but learn about it not from licensed coaches who came overseas and saw a massive opportunity with pay to play and are just finding every way to monetize them, but simply with an app that has content built by creators, by fans, and sort of extends their hand backward, right, to the new fan behind them. Creating content that shows them how to kick a ball, how to strike it, how to pass like Pulisic, how to score goals like any USMNT legend of yesteryear, right? How to do it like Ronaldo used to do it, right? Being able to use that type of content to teach players at the youngest ages possible, and then on the other side of the platform, using voices like Eric Winalda and other creators that all have stories just like yours, just like mine, and using those to relate to the parents that are coming up in the next generation of fans and getting them bought into the game at the same time. Right. So, can we do that? Can we lead both young players and their parents through this game from our lens, from our point of view, and show them why we love this game so much without them having to spend an arm and a leg on personal training, on club soccer, which we know costs thousands of dollars a year. So all of these factors weigh in heavily, but the app is now going in a direction where we feel like it has a much more specific use. But the elements of it being led by creators and it being something that feels relatable in the best way possible in the age of the internet, that's all true. That's still remaining true. We don't want any of that to go away. In my mind, creators are the biggest fans in the world. They're so bold and bullish in their opinions that they're willing to get on the internet with a camera and a mic, sometimes for next to no people, and just put their opinions on the internet. Like that's such a bold thing in 2025. And so I want to make sure that those same opinions and the people behind them get a chance to help us build something great for the next generation of fans. And so slight pivot in our direction, both strategically and from a content perspective. But I still think that we want to create the same impact, if not a better one, which is, can we truly create and amplify the next generation of fans in America by getting them to go out of their way to learn and then hopefully put the app down, put the device down and just start playing, right? Playing in their backyard, playing in their living room. In my opinion, soccer starts at home. And I think Tom Byer has been shouting that from the rooftops as a technical director himself. And if you know who that is, I applaud you, because I think a lot of people still don't know who he is. And I think his beliefs and his philosophies are massive for growing the game here and developing the game here. But I firmly believe that soccer starts at home, and we want to embrace it in every way with this new goals app.
Absolutely. And I think one point that you mentioned that I like when you say the parents, one thing, especially that now I'm also involved in club soccer since last year. One thing that I saw when we have those conversations is that a lot of parents probably have kids that are like playing the top level in their age group. But if you ask their parents, is there this is the first time they've actually watched soccer or they know nothing about soccer. It's just that their little girl or little boy decided to play the sport and they're all in now. And then you hear on the sideline, what is this? What was this? Was this offside? If it's a handball, what are the rules? And looks like what you guys are trying to do is that to have that look a place where they can actually get that information, maybe, and then support their kids that way. So I think that's you guys kind of hit that well on educating the older parents that have kids that are involved in soccer.
Yeah. It's
And a
like
sense of so
it's like when I keep going back to in terms of comparisons, like another platform that's out there, I keep going back to Reddit. To me, a lot of the fan base lives on Twitter. A lot of the fan base lives on Instagram and other platforms. But to me, the real discussions get had on Reddit. And when you go through, whether you're someone who's just trying to catch up on the scores, someone who's simply trying to have on the other side of the spectrum deep conversations about how we go away from the pay to play model, whatever it is that you're looking for, I think the communities that live on Reddit are deep. And the issue though is that they're all based around writing content, right? Like expressing your opinions in written form. And I think that Goals has a unique opportunity to be something a little bit different on that front, but with the same effect. This idea that you have this trusted space that you can go to learn, to start forming your own opinions, and then down the road and future iterations of the product, hopefully sharing those and really kind of building some sense of belonging in a communal fashion. I don't want to say community because I think that's a very
kind
loaded
of close.
word. Yeah, in 2025, but we want to have that same type of impact online, where I think people can come to learn and feel included from trusted sources on the internet.
Excellent. Yeah, and talk about Tom. He will be another guest on this podcast. Um, we
I
have it
love it,
just
man.
scheduled. So yes. So and I think and I kind of that quote, I think that needs to be used a lot more. Because even though the kids can go play and practice for 3 days a week, but if they then shut down and don't do anything else until the next practice or the next game, they're almost erasing those 5 hours, 6 hours that they've trained in those 3 days, because at home they're not doing anything else.
Exactly.
And Tom is a pretty big component on that. So I think looks like you guys are pretty much in sync when it comes to um, trying to promote the sports a little bit more, and maybe us getting out of the social media and reach out to the people outside that maybe necessarily don't want to be in the cesspool that social media can be at most time.
Yeah, no, and look, if Tom, man, if Tom ever, first off, Tom, you ever see this, man? I would love to work with you on this goals app, this new direction that we're going in. I think, like I said, I've read his book at least a couple times over now, and it's gold. It is gold for any parent that's looking to start getting into soccer with their child at home. Unfortunately, not a lot of people have picked it up, or it's not enough people, I should say. Plenty of readership already, but not enough have picked it up. You definitely should. But Tom, man, if you watch this, Eric and I would love to work with you on the new goals direction.
We'll bring it up. But yeah, and I think if you have any questions, go look what Japan does, and a lot of what Japan impact. Tom has a huge hand on that. For anyone that watches this show next, like you mentioned, Tom, if you want, you know, an example of what it is, pretty much Japan is the perfect example.
Agreed.
So with that part, so knowing that you have the rebranding, so how can viewers and fans kind of help support Goals TV and and its mission? Like, what would you like to see from
Yeah.
our community?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think two things really. I think one, we're going to be testing a lot of the content that we roll out on the new Goals TV app on our YouTube channel first, right? We definitely want to be able to get opinions and feedback about the content in the most scalable way possible. There's no better way to do that than YouTube. So if you guys, again, want to go ahead and check out our channel, we have MLS content, USL content, Eric Winalda's series Unleashed that covers American soccer across the board. So many other segments in between. If you guys are passionate about any of that, Goals TV, we're almost at 10K subs. We'd appreciate all of the help there. But beyond that, at the end of the day, like that's just going to give us all the feedback we need to improve the app as much as possible. And then from there, I think too is when we launch the app, something that I haven't really told a lot of people that we're also launching. Maybe not at the exact same time, but at some point it will be a combo, which is a physical product. So for the first time in the Goals TV history, we're going to be offering a physical product. A starter kit, if you will, that Eric and I will kind of work with a manufacturer to build out, probably partner with a specific brand who's pretty trusted on that front, to make sure if parents wanted to, right, if they needed all the tools in one starter kit, they could get, a small pop-up goal, some cones, a couple size 3 balls, all kind of wrapped into one package that they get, and they can use the Goals app content to start making good use of that starter kit pretty quickly. So I would say those two things, right? If it's interesting to you, we're going to be pushing that out probably starting in November, getting ready for the holiday season. So if that's interesting, you'll start seeing like some email lists and stuff like that go out. So anybody who's interested can just sign up with their email. They're good to go.